So we can start our next session now, and I promise you it's something you can only see at an India Today event and at the India Today Education Conclave. We have a very interesting principals roundtable next, and I'd like to introduce all of our panelists. We've got a full house, as you can see here, joining me on the stage. We have Professor Anju Srivastava, principal of the Hindu College. The Hindu College has won 2 awards already, so it's great that we can have her here because the theme of this discussion is the winning mantra, what makes a best college. So wonderful to have Professor Srivastava here. Wherever you want, ma'am, you can take whichever seat you'd like. Also with us, Professor Ashok Ganguly, Deputy Director, Strategy and Planning of IIT Delhi. Poonam Verma, Principal of Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. Mr. Kamalkant Pant, Principal of IHM Pusa. Dr. Sarasu Esther Thomas, the National Law School of India University. We have Dr. Bipin Jojo, Professor and Dean of School of Social Work, Tata Institute of Social Sciences of Mumbai. Professor Gaurav Raheja, Head of the Department of Architecture and Planning of IIT Roorkee. Dr. Viju P. Devasi, Director of Christ Delhi NCR. And finally, Ms. Manisha Kinu, Campus Director of NIFT Delhi. A round of applause, please. Like I said, you'll never see this anywhere else but at the India Today Education Conclave, where right alongside me are all principals. I feel a tad nervous, but can we begin? Is everyone set in? I'd like to begin with Professor Srivastava. The Hindu College has won 2 awards, so congratulations to you. What does it take, but for college to be deemed the best, to be the best of the best? Because I was reading up, there are 42,000 educational institutions in this country. And for a college to come #1 in an art stream, in a science stream, I think that you have to woo both parents as well as aspirants. So how do you kind of find that middle ground?
Yeah, thank you, Akshita. As my opening remark would be, firstly, that I would like to thank I'm very grateful to the India Today group for bestowing this honor on our college for both arts and science stream. It's a matter of great pride for the college, the students, the staff, and the teachers who have worked very hard, through these, especially the last 2 years, and have, come to this. It's a lot of encouragement. The science stream and the art stream, though we say that we are good in commerce too, has been the flagship departments of our college. And we have, in arts and science, we have done certain novel things. We have tried to catch up with things of the demand of the time. And I would say that it's been a great journey for us, and it's a very old college. It's about 125 years of long tradition and history, and to identify what are the real drivers for success of this institution, which has this kind of a history and tradition, is not a very easy task. But there are certain principles that I would like to share with everybody, which we think we have embraced and they've helped us. So since the college is a multidisciplinary college, I think that's the biggest plus point, or the strength of the college, is that we give a lot of focus on multidisciplinary learning. The teachers are, of course, experts across a wide range of subjects, but we also encourage our students to invest in developing interests in multiple disciplines. While the broader guardrail of the education system for the students is to identify or specialize in the subjects that they have to choose at the time of their entry, it is becoming increasingly important to develop, to build more flexible skill sets, and to adapt to the ever-growing, ever-changing labor market demands. So through our focus on multidisciplines, we feel that we can prepare them better for future, and also that they can be allowed to nimble in this rapidly evolving world. Multidisciplines are reflected in the openness of the culture that is prevailing in our student body. For instance, they get to embrace at the college the opportunities and the freedom that they get, and they are able to create it into a lively sort of environment with the help of several societies, several groups that they design, they develop for their own development outside the classroom also. So while they are studying in the classroom, there's a lot that they study outside the classroom. They develop their opportunities. They are able to, then make the most of this college experience outside the classroom in the form of innovations, entrepreneurship, projects that they take up, especially, we do a need analysis with the students, wherein we are able to figure out as to what is it that they want, if we are, giving them some add-ons, some value-added courses, etc. So with the help of this need analysis, we have been able to identify the interest areas of the students, especially as Dr. Shahani had said, that now that there are a certain set of students who definitely want to get into AI and data analysis and all. So last 2 years, we've been able to, since we could not meet them physically, so we did this kind of analysis and found that there are students who could, who are interested in sustainability. So for the sciences, we did courses on toxicology, on management of pests, on green chemistry, sustainable way of living, etc. And for many others, and this is not just limited to the sciences, we were doing this for any, we had brought it down to the level where we could, take in more and more students, even from the liberal arts. And similarly on, as I said, on business, on data analysis, and also on, there are a lot of students who are interested in the ancient wisdom, ancient culture and all, especially because we have history as a forte in our college. And so we had these kind of,
I think, the messaging from what you've said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Professor Srivastava, is that you're constantly having to also reinvent yourself.
Absolutely.
Because with every generation, I'm sure everyone here will agree with me, with every generation, the needs change.
Right.
Professor Raheja, would you agree with that? Do you think that constantly with every year there's that pressure on every university to kind of reinvent themselves and what they offer to the children, the aspirants?
I think, hello, am I audible? Yeah. So I think there are different ways in which you look at the same standpoint. When you say pressure, somebody looks at it as stress, but I think the smarter way is to look at it as an opportunity. And I would say to turn this into an opportunity, what we've been able to do at IIT Roorkee is one simple thing: make it 24/7, 365 days. So we work all days, there is no holiday, you can work all the time, you can connect all the time.
That doesn't sound fun, Professor.
Sorry?
That doesn't sound fun.
It doesn't sound fun, but it gives you what I'm saying. Within the opportunity is a word called flexibility.
Yeah.
Because it's not about learning only in the classrooms. It's about peer learning, it's about managing learning in a certain way, which I think is the need for the hour.
Ms. Manishak, in NIFT, at least the reputation that it has among everyone, especially youngsters, is that it's a very fun place to be. It's a lot of fun to be in also. But do you think that there's also a misconception when it comes to the fashion course?
I definitely think so. Obviously, we are a fun campus. We want our students to have fun, but it is backed by solid academic rigor. And we follow that. We train them from their first year, and not just in academics, but also how they can work with the industry. They have industry attachment right from the beginning, from their first year. So from the first year onwards, they know what is required when they work in the industry, what is the need of the industry. So we work on that. Plus, we want to make them socially conscious too. So we have a craft cluster initiative. All our students go and work with master craftsmen, learn from their craft, and also give in terms of new design outputs. So our students have solid backing of academic rigor, attachment with industry, work at the social sector sphere, and obviously we want our students to have a lot of fun.
It's been 10 years since I passed out of college. So, Dr. Devasi, I think that from 10 years ago to now, I think there's been a huge transformation in the sense that it's become a lot more competitive also for kids out there, not just to enter into university, but post that. There's a lot of responsibility that all of you who are on the stage with me also shoulder in ensuring that, you know, when the ward passes out of your university, he or she is ready for whatever challenge comes their way. How do you ensure and foster that excellence, that thought in their mind that we can deal with that?
Thank you. Thank you very much. We want to first thank India Today Group for inviting us today to receive this award. It has been last 10 plus years that, you know, Christ is always, you know, bagging some prizes, at least, you know, in BCA or formerly BBA we too have. Yeah, now I'm jealous of a bit, you know, positive jealousy.
Can't
that,
get them all.
Yeah. So what we do is, well, a lot of challenges, obviously, in the last 10 years. So what we do is, in terms of student academics, we try to, you know, connect them with the industry. So on every Saturday, the sessions are, in most of the courses, are being offered by the industrialists. And especially for this BCA program, we have a sort of, you know, a crash course semester where almost all of our students in the final semester, they spend with the industry. So that makes a lot of difference. So also our business school program, most of the programs, you know, we have, you know, this type of industry academia partnership and internship built into the program. It's a mandatory internship that we ask them to do. So also we prepare them for life. So most of our students also take courses from other schools. So ours is also a multidisciplinary school. So our management students take courses from, you know, psychology, from data science. Our psychology students learn chemistry and programs like that. So at least 2 courses are mandatorily, you know, to be taken by every undergraduate student. And, you know, with NEP, a lot of emphasis on skill development as well as a value-based education. So what we focus now for the past few years is, you know, learning from the peers, especially the values being taught by the peers themselves. So peer education is a very strong component at Christ University. Peers themselves get trained in certain value systems like, you know, self-care, you know, values of, you know, those sort, and then they train their peers. They go to the classes and train. So instead of, you know, we academicians just, you know, telling them or training them, we find, you know, peers, more effective. Yeah.
And I think many would agree in the audience that somehow when it's education within the peers, it makes a difference. It's something that they inculcate as well.
Absolutely.
But something that you mentioned also about change and about evolving also. I'd like to bring in also Ms. Poonam Verma on that. You know, when you talk about change, in the pandemic perhaps, we've all undergone the most amount of change, and the education system has also been dented because of that. So how did colleges and universities really deal with the pandemic and the changes that you had to bring, using technology also?
Yeah, thank you very much. Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies, we are literally just about 3.5 decades old. Not as old as 125 years, Hindu College. Of course, in this centenary year of University of Delhi, we do take the pride, you know, that many of the University of Delhi colleges have been ranked 1. So there is something in the DNA of University of Delhi. So thank you, and I'm sure many of the alumni of Delhi University are sitting here.
It's lovely to see this bonhomie, because I always thought it was a lot of competitiveness. It's nice to see everyone getting along. It's so warm.
You know, truly, it's not really about the competitiveness. It's actually the collaboration, and this national education policy is actually catering to that.
That's great to see. Yeah.
So that's one thing. And however, to go back to your question, is how did we experience this? It was challenging. Challenging for all of us, and at personal fronts, at social front. So, but we got ready. And this we converted into an opportunity, because we realized that, you know, technology is the way ahead. So we adapted to the technology very fast. And actually it's thanks to the students who also helped us, who actually came out. They said, ma'am, the Google Classroom is here, we can do it. So what we actually used to do was ask the students, how do we make the learning, you know, enable the learning for you? So it used to be a collaborative process and not a competitive process at all. it was, we must realize we are in service industry. And in marketing, the basic principle is that you have to listen to the customer. We have to listen to the students. And the students, the alumni, the industry, these are the three people that we are actually catering to. So, our ears are always open, we are evolving, we come out with, being a University of Delhi, or for that matter, an educational institution, part of a government setup. We would have a lot of regulations, and I'm glad to hear our minister mentioning that no more restrictive regulations, which is very good. So what do? We would come out with some value-added programs, and thanks to the technology, we had the Coursera and many edtech companies, we could take help. We had the internship, which was mandatory for a business school. Every semester, the students have to go through a mandatory internship. Now it was becoming difficult. So what did we do? We decided, okay, you take up a 50 hours online program, and in lieu of the physical way of doing the internship, we replaced with that. So there were ways in which we found the alternatives. We ensured that, the learning is not compromised. And one more thing that we also did, which is typical with every educational institution, which Professor Anju Srivastava also mentioned, is the learning outside the classroom. Now, what was happening during those two pandemic, years that we faced? Webinars, a lot of online competitions were getting organized, and we ensured that our students participated. And mind you, there were global competitions that's where our students were participating and becoming the winners there.
The great thing about technology is
absolutely, it is the technology which led us the way.
And I think at that note, I think a round of applause for everyone. These teachers, these principals who overcame the pandemic, ensured education for the students, for all of them, wasn't hindered. I'm sure, as you said, personally also there were so many challenges. Many of you seated in the audience, I'm sure, also overcame many of those to ensure that, education for these children was paramount. So that's something that I think I should salute to all of you for as well. Dr. Thomas, if I could bring you in on this as well. Something that she mentioned was also about practical learning. And does technology kind of lead to that taking a back seat?
Yeah, I'll answer it. And I think the pandemic is a good way of, taking an example to illustrate this better. Yes, certainly, I think, getting practical experience is something that students look for in professional education. And in our university, our motto has always been to provide professionally competent and socially relevant legal education. So, of course, the pandemic did impact this in terms of students being able to go on to on-site internships and working with organizations. But we tried to organize internships online, which could facilitate this process. It didn't work as well. I think there is still a lot of value to going to the field and learning for yourself, but it was something. But the challenges we really faced, I'm sure, were challenges that everyone else did. Because we have a strong institutional work ethic, and to move from a physical space to an online space, took us a few days, enough time for the students to get back home. We have a great academic group, and all of us had to learn to teach online like everyone else for the first time. So we learned through trial and error. We had classes for teachers on how to teach online. We engaged in a lot of experimentation, right from the examination system to online internships. But what we were really concerned about was diversity and access. Because we do have students who may not have been able to access online education in the same way. And we provided internship scholarships, I think they were called, in order to enable students who could not access the net properly. We also had special sessions for students who had difficulties in engaging with mainstream classes. We had both synchronous and asynchronous learnings, but we also put in place a good mental health plan and medical plans for students who were grappling with difficulties at home and also outside. But I think we were able to manage it to some extent because we already have robust systems at the university. And there was a willingness to be transparent and open, not to push problems under the carpet, but to deal with them head on, and to ensure that no student and in fact no colleague was also left behind. Because we also had cases where teachers were unavailable because of personal difficulties. And this was something that affected our entire community. And I'm glad to say that we came together as a community to try and find solutions to it.
Very true. And that's why I believe that the India Today Best Colleges survey in the last 2 years has had a lot more issues that were factored in because of the pandemic, because it's how it's changed the course of education. So that's why I think the colleges that have really made it the best of the best, you really have to give yourself a hand, because it means that you've also managed to overcome the challenges of the pandemic as well. Dr. Jojo, one of the points also that Dr. Thomas made here was about mental health. You don't get to engage with students on a personal basis because of online classes. How do you still ensure that you have that kind of personal connection with them? Because colleges and school also, largely education is about that, where you create that personal connection also with your teacher, with your professor.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, as we all know, we all of us went through this kind of psychosocial challenge in our individual life as well as in our students' life. It was kind of, as it was said earlier, that all the students and staff were connected each other almost like 24 hours, 7 days and 24 hours. And we had the counseling service in place. At the same time, all the teachers were acting as the counselors for all our students. Anytime the students could reach, whether WhatsApp, telephone, email, any one of my students could reach me on email. They were able to reach out to the respective teachers. So that open access was there for the students to reach out to anyone whenever they had any kind of psychosocial issues and the problems. At the same time, I think many of my colleagues have said here, the peer learning, I think, is one of the hallmark of our education systems. That I think that was in place. Despite that students were not physically in the campus, they were able to connect each other. They were able to have their own informal network to reach out, to share about their problems. And if not the students himself or herself, somebody else will reach out to the support system that he or she is facing problems. And so support systems will be in place. We have the students cutting across diversities, whether it is gender, whether it is caste, class, different regions. We had one of the major challenges was the digital divide. Not only the education, but I think in our university systems also we had very, very difficult challenge of digital divide. And so we had initiated the process to create the system where we could provide laptops to the students, reach out either through courier or deliver the laptops to the needy students, provide data pack support. And also, as some of us know, as industrial relation or what we call field-based education or fieldwork, we were able to manage at least about 178 organizations in the last academic year. Despite having online internship and all these, students will know, unless we go to the people and interact with the people, I think we don't feel the sense of fieldwork or working with people. So we were able to create opportunity with the students wherever they were located throughout the country. And they could reach out to the organizations in their own locality, and they were associated. And so we could place students with 178 organizations in the last academic year during this time. So that anxiety the students had that, no, unless we go for the field work, I think our studies cannot be complete. So that sense, that anxiety what students could have, we were able to create opportunity. So it was, I think, crisis is an opportunity, and we took advantage of that. And we were constantly innovative and creative in dealing with the situation and
I
delivering
think that
the program.
showed. I think Indian educational institutes really did remarkably in dealing with the pandemic and the many, many challenges that come with it. I also want to bring in Professor Ashok Ganguly on this. Professor Ganguly, let's move away from the pandemic. I want to bring up a point that Dr. Shani also had mentioned, study in India. Even today, you know, when students move out of school, the first thing they think about is which foreign university can I apply in? Where can I get in? And then it's considered to be a great matter of pride within the family if someone is studying in the United States, now in Canada, Australia, etc. What will it take for us to change the mindset here in India, that, you know, our institutes are as good as those abroad?
Yeah. Very pertinent question. I think the mindset first needs to be changed by the parents. So it's more the parents than the students. There is, of course, you cannot deny that a Cambridge University is a Cambridge University. There is no point in denying that MIT is MIT. What we need to learn, what does it take for an institution of 400 years to stay at the top? It is one thing to go on top, but it's another thing to sustain the excellence. And we need to understand that excellence comes due to a few factors. One is great faculty. Another is great students. These are two things. No matter how much infrastructure you put into huge buildings or air-conditioned rooms or great computers, ultimately you need outstanding thinking people and outstanding students. How do you get those outstanding students from our hinterland? So IIT JEE has shown a great way for past 60 years that even a very poor child from very backward areas of Jharkhand today who never heard of JEE had come to Delhi to do a BSc honors in one of the colleges and learned that there is something called IIT. This is my personal experience. And gave an exam. Because he was brilliant, he qualified and got into IIT. So we need to have that kind of system which finds the jewels in our country and then sustain them. You know, we give an opportunity to create an environment for the student, not only in the classroom, in the hostels, in meetings with alumni, where they get brilliant ideas how to open a startup, how to create a new business. Even there are people who drop out in the 4th year, and we give them time to come back and finish their BTech. We give them opportunity that if right now you don't want to continue, you can take off a few semesters, and you come back and do your startup and come back to the institution. So there are great ways by which IITs have sustained excellence over several years, several decades. And you see globally, if you go anywhere, you know, IITs are a name. And those alumni, in turn, act as a role model for the new students to come. How have they gone ahead? And they have a great bonhomie. They interact, all IIT students. They know each other through PAN IIT. They have clubs, etc. And they go through that. Could I answer?
Yes,
Did
very
I
much,
answer
very
your
much,
question?
very
Okay.
much, sir. So I think to add to that, I have to agree. IIT is like a cult. You know, once you've been in IIT, everyone knows each other then as well. Mr. Pant, you know, from everything that everyone has said, I think that how you define excellence in an education is about your faculty, it's about the students that are there, the kind of technology that you have as well. But also, you know, something that's always been brought up as criticism against Indian institutions is that we're not keeping up with the times. They say that, you know, the thinking is backward and all of that. Do you think that's changed now? Even the education system, very often they say that it's very textbook based. Has that changed?
Certainly, yes. I would agree with you. Things are changing and they are changing pretty fast. And what I believe is that education is, after all, you know, serving the society. And it has to remain relevant. And many a times, you know, you are like a strategic follower to the demands of the society. At other times, you know, you are a change initiator, for the society. And now, like I come from an institution, I think, which is very different. I can only pick one institution which would fit the bill, glamorous and out of the ordinary.
Out of the usual.
Yes, an unusual kind of an institution. But this institution, which is in its Diamond Jubilee year, now technology has enabled, us to remain abreast, with the latest things which are there anywhere else in the world. Everybody looks at America, everybody looks at Europe. But there are, wonderful things happening even in ASEAN countries, places like Singapore or places like, in the Middle East. A number of cutting-edge technologies are getting developed, and maybe other people are taking note of that. And with the internet, it is possible that we are able to learn about them. We learn about those developments happening in real time, and then we have an opportunity to react to that as well. Now, the question that you initiated this discussion with, what is it that we attribute or what is it that makes a very good institution? You talked about the best institution. I feel best institution, you must thank your competitors who let you emerge as the best, but you have to keep on building your institution as a great institution. And it's a work, 24/7 kind of a work it is. But what I feel is, for an institution like IHM Pusa, we try to engage all the stakeholders. Right from the management, we have a board which has got top bureaucrat, Secretary Tourism, Government of India chairs our board, and then there are bureaucrats, and then there are industry association, people, the president of FHRAI, and other people are there on the board. I think the chef ambassador of our country, MS Gill, he's the catering expert. So we engage with them, we engage with the alumni, and I think last 2 years, like it was a big challenge, but there was a blessing, there is something, takeaways are there also from this pandemic. We could not have been in a position to connect with our alumni the way we did in last 2 years. Madam Verma was telling me that her cousin graduated 40 years back. I said, what is his name? Because I know many people who graduated from my institution before I was born. And we are connecting with them, we are exchanging mails, and the kind of work we have been able to do in the last 2 years, I think we have not been able to do so much. As we were looking at a very good high-profile kind of a luncheon at our institute when this lockdown was suddenly. We were expecting the CEO and MD of Indian Hotel Corporation Limited to interact with our faculty. It was just 3 days away. We were preparing. And in the same fortnight, we had the annual day celebration happening. And all of a sudden, this lockdown was there. We were very angry, and I think we put our anger to very good use. And we brought Mr. Puneet Chatwal virtually, and before anything else, we could manage a kind of ecosystem wherein we could connect with our alumni and outstanding people. Not only one person, he came, he was the first one, and then everybody. We are proud that hospitality industry in our country and in many countries across the world is being, led by our alumni. And it was possible to connect with them. Yeah. And before the go-ahead was there to take our classes offline, we already had learned the ropes, We knew how to run 3 cameras simultaneously. And what we were able to achieve in the pandemic was that even cultural programs, we did not let go of that opportunity. People sitting in 4 corners of the country, they were recording a chorus. Technology, we tried to push it to the limits. And we did sports competitions and whatnot during. So what we feel is that we have emerged, much stronger. And important thing is, I couldn't agree more with Professor Ganguly, faculty and the students. And beyond that also, if people are engaged, I come from the hospitality, if you ask about how to prepare a good cup of tea, they say, 1 teaspoon for every person who is going to have that tea, 1 teaspoon for the pot. That is what the recipe is, and a little more. So we have learned to add that little more in our education offering in last 2 years. Thank you.
That's a lovely, lovely remark as well. I think Mr. Jojo also was right that the pandemic also pulls across a challenge. Then you're expected to meet that and then, surpass and reach new heights as well, as Mr. Pant also highlighted. Ms. Manisha, do you think that right now for fashion as a course, do you think there are more takers than before? Because there was always this very set, mindset almost in Indian families of engineering, medical. I don't need to explain this. We all know it so very well and we're so familiar with it. Do you think that's changed, finally?
I would agree. I mean, it's the age of creative people. Everything else can be done by machine. Creative people, it's the age of creative people. And in fact, our profile has also changed, our student profile. So we are getting students from parts of the country which we were not getting 5 years, 10 years back, because parents are now more open to more unconventional, if I may say so, fields, and our students are everywhere. If you see the retail space, not just as creative people, but as head of organizations and companies, so our students are everywhere. They're doing really well, and that kind of gives an impetus that people now want to come and join NIFT. And there's a lot of creativity, and sometimes it gets suppressed when you're forced to choose a field that is not to your liking. And thankfully, they come here to NIFT and they flower and they kind of reach new heights. So yes, I would agree that a lot more students are coming in and from areas the unexpected areas that you would traditionally not expect them to come from.
You mentioned creativity. I think the internet has largely helped also students kind of understand what they like, their passion, kind of touch their creative side as well. And what that's also led to is, I'm sure, a lot of students entering, Professor Srivastava, entering a course, realizing that, look, this is not for me. Something like the startup culture also has backed that largely. Many, many students, as Professor Ganguly also told us, kind of tend to drop out mid-semester, say that this is not for me, I want to do something else. How do you then bolster that by helping the student, either realizing their dreams or kind of counsel them and make them figure out what they want to do also? Because an educational institute plays a big role there.
So that's what I was saying in the beginning as well, and has been actually substantiated by so many others, that our purpose is to give them as many opportunities as possible. At the tender age, even when they are passing 12th standard, it's really not the age to consolidate or freeze their choices. But unfortunately, the education system makes it very specific that you have to be in a particular discipline or a particular subject. Thankfully, with NEP, the flexibility is now coming in. So within those limitations of the system, if the students are given, avenues, they are given the possibilities, they can sort of bloom in any other sort of discipline or any other interest area. So I think all of us are working and striving for providing such interest areas as much as possible. To be a curriculum change takes a lot of time to change, and to be abreast with the latest, there have to be certain additional things that have to be done, which is what we all are, again, working hard to provide. And similarly, research is a very important component which has come in NEP, which at the undergraduate level in colleges like ours is very difficult. It's very difficult to offer to the students who have a wide range of disciplines, and to make them do some kind of, original research or to be associated with faculty on some active research projects. Like our college has made a very, very significant attempt in it. We have invested a lot in getting into, infrastructure with a lot of research facilities to be able to give the students and the teachers that kind of, sort of a win-win situation where they can again explore whether they want to continue with this subject or this discipline for their career path. And for the teachers to be able to, do some productive research. All of us have mentioned the role of alumni. I think that's really, really important for the success of the institution, because these are the links which give a sense of, give the institution a sense of, tradition and history. And the students, the current students, they feel that they are a part of something which is larger than life.
Yeah, yeah.
So they know where they can, go, where they can connect with, and for their success in future, while keenly rooting themselves in the history. So I think all of these make a lot of difference and can help the students to take a lot of good decisions for their lives. And ultimately, all of us want them to really succeed. So these attempts help a lot. Fundings are problems always in colleges like ours. And again, through the alumni and through philanthropists, which is now being talked of so much, I think that has started paving way. And we have seen a lot of success happening in our college through such aids which come from the alumni time and again, especially in the COVID period. We had so much of donations in the form of, laptops and tabs and monetary aids, etc., coming from the alumni. So together, all of these stakeholders make a real impact.
Something that many of you on the stage here have spoken about is skill development. Professor Raheja, this is something that also was spoken about earlier when Minister Dharmendra Pradhan was here saying skill earlier, people thought of carpenter, people thought of electrician, plumber, etc. The definition of skill development has changed. How would you define it in an educational institute? For students, what would skill development really mean to you?
I think the first definition I would say is let's not try to define it, because let's make the whole idea with 3 O's. Make it open, make it owned by oneself, and third is make sure that this openness and ownership together actually leads to an outcome. And I would say that convergence is where skills can come together, because no set of fixed skills is going to last. Even if you skill them, say, with one particular software language today, 3 years down the line, there is a new version coming down. So actually the skill that you need is to relearn, unlearn, and I would say really keep on the bar, so that I would say there was a statement by an architect, Le Corbusier. He says, passion can create drama out of an inert stone. So I believe if you have the passion to learn and if you produce individuals rather than students, let us become the students here. And we also need to relearn and unlearn. So I would say that's the way forward, to reskill, unskill, and kind of move forward. Thank you.
Very true. I've run out of time, but I'd like just one quick answer from all of you, starting with Dr. Devasi here. All of you are, of course, the best of the best, and that's why we have you up here on the stage. So just one line or a couple of words on the mantra for excellence for you and for your institute. And if I could have everyone answer that one after another.
Okay, for
just
us
a quick one-liner.
Yes, for us at Christ University, it is whole-person education and purpose-driven organization.
Amazing. Mr. Pant.
What I say is create the vision together. Get as many people as possible to create that vision and share that vision and then move forward.
Professor Kant.
So we want to give the student the best experience to become a global citizen.
Dr. Thomas.
I think I've already said that. I think wonderful institutional work, ethic, but I'd also like to add that students come in at a very young age. They don't know what they want to do. So offer them a range of diverse options through electives and let them make the choice. We are not preparing students for the industry. We are preparing them for life.
Yeah, for me, I would say that we instill a sense of ownership in the students. Whatever they do that passionately rather than just running behind their passions.
Yeah, so I think it is the culture that prevails, which we would like to promote, that enables openness, enables exchange of ideas, innovations, and from our side, a commitment to have that fulfilled.
Dr. Jude.
For us, it is to be people-centered, contextually innovative, and continuously create space for opportunities.
Professor Raheja.
I think just one phrase, push the boundaries so that boundaries don't cease to exist, such that the Indian institutes of technology I think the country now needs is institutes of innovative thinking, which also changes the whole boundary landscapes to a global level rather than just Indian.
Very true. And finally, Ms. Manisha Kim.
I would say inclusivity. That's what we follow in the campus. And I would also say creativity without restrictions. We want our students to blossom and flourish. We don't want to restrict we just want to chisel it and fine-tune it. So that would be my Niftalis.
This has been a lovely session. This is the first time I've seated with so many professors, wasn't taking notes. But thank you very much for joining us for this session. A big round of applause, please, for all of our principals, for taking the time out and joining us here. A lot to learn from all of you. Congratulations again for winning here the best colleges of India.